Parents, I've got another activity with the floating and sinking. This is an experiment I'm going to present to you. Let me start. I've got the objects over here. I've got the water and the paper. The paper has got written words that's floating and sinking. So I'm going to show you how this will work out. And the first thing that I'll do is start with the objects. We've got the keys here. We've got the lunchbox. We've got the scissors, we've got the peg, the ball, and a stone. So we're going to find out with the children which ones sink and which ones float. The first one I'm going to do is the keys. We'll try and see if the keys float or sink. The keys are sinking. You see the lunchbox floating or sinking? The lunchbox is floating. It is floating. And we've got the scissors over here. Is the scissors going to float or sink? That's the child that it's sinking. And we've got the peg. Is the peg going to float or sink? It is floating. Then we've got the ball. Is the ball going to float or sink? It is floating. Then we've got the stone. Is the stone going to float or sink? It is sinking. So what you do is make sure the child takes out all the objects from the water and places them on the towel so that at least we get to dry them before we put them on the paper. Taking them out. So we dry them, pat them there, we dry them. So now we're going to find out which objects are the ones that float or sink. So we got our paper here. So it's written floating and sinking. So the child will look at the objects and ask the child, does the peg float or sink? The child should be able to identify whether the peg floats or sink. So the peg floats. Does the ball float or sink? It floats. Does the scissors float or sink? It sinks. Does the stone float or sink? It sinks. Does the lunchbox float or sink? It floats. Put them on the paper. Does the key float or sink? It sinks. So the child will be able to identify which ones are floating and which ones are sinking. It's a very good experiment to do at home, and for the children you can use different objects around that can be done with this experiment. I hope you enjoy this. Thank you.